Hello everyone, welcome back to another audiobook session of Colorado&Southern Railways D&NO Route by James R. Jim Jones. Today we are reading chapter 2 of the book, which is aptly called, let me find it first, Summit to the Sea. I'm also going to quickly check the page it ends on. Oh yeah, we'll be able to read this in this entire section. So, Declendence to Debt, the Gulf Road, 1888 to 1898. Colorado Grand Jubilee at Denver, March 28th through 31st, 1888, in celebration of the opening of the Denver, Texas, and Fort Worth Railroad, short line to the sea. Goodbye, tripartite. Hello, Fort Worth. More favorable circumstances developed during 1887, as the tripartite dissolved under economic pressure from unsustainable rate wars. This was the ideal time to complete Evans' dream railroad to the Gulf, thanks to his reliable ally, General Granville Dodge, and others. A third railroad, the Denver, Texas, and Fort Worth DT and FW, was organized. Tracks were laid from Pueblo Junction to the Texas/New Mexico border, connecting with the Fort Worth and Denver City on the afternoon of March 14th, 1888. Ignore the cat. Texas Panhandle Route. So, it's a complete timetable of route from Denver to Fort Worth, which I'm not going to read through like the last one, because that last one was pretty short. But, yeah. So, on the left hand side, on page 32, we see hand-drawn images of this parade, and on the right side, we see the complete overhaul of everything on the railroad, including the Manitou branch, the Franceville branch, the Panhandle branch, Maxwell branch, and the Somethingsburg branch. Can't really tell. Okay. The completed Panhandle Route's pioneer shipment of Colorado redstone was delivered to New Orleans, then forwarded to New York City by ship. Four flat cars represent the railroads involved, past and present. Denver, Texas, and Fort Worth, number 3223. Fort Worth and Denver, number 1433, and Denver, Texas, and Gulf, number 1213. Since the Denver-New Orleans ceased to exist 3 years before the inclusion of Vinton's Denver and New Orleans car in this 1888 photo, must have been symbolic gesture honoring the realization of an 8-year dream. Thanks to the new 5-mile panhandle route, stylish Pullman vestibules, sleepers, and dining cars made daily passes through Melvin, Parker, Hilltop, Elizabeth, Burt, Eastonville, Granger, Franceville, Junction, Fountain, Little Butte, and Pueblo. The first regularly scheduled Denver, Texas, and Fort Worth passenger train departed Denver on Monday, April 9th, 1888 at 8:15 a.m. A first-class ticket on the 30-hour Denver to Fort Worth adventure cost $24. I wish it was still that much. Railroad laborers devoted the spring and summer of 1888 to improving the former Denver and New Orleans. Grass fires caused by locomotives required bridge replacements on the Colorado Springs Ranch and at Whiskey Gulch between Hilltop and Elizabeth. New business demand 5 additional sheep corral sheds and wood storage houses along the route. An impressive 8-story office building rose above the corner of 15th and Lemmer in downtown Denver, while Colorado Springs received a new station at Cucuris Street. Rock Island Railroad crosses D&NO south of Granger. On October 16, 1888, the Chicago, Kansas, and Nebraska Railroad, CK&N, arrived in Colorado Springs. When the Rock Island subsidiary crossed under the Denver, Texas, and Fort Worth, the newcomer was obliged to furnish grading, bridging materials, and labor for track relocation. This place was soon named Falcon, for its abundance of wild birds became a rail junction. Once the CK&N was absorbed by the Chicago, Rock Island, and Pacific 3 years later, Falcon replaced Granger on rail maps. Though Granger's depot and section house were moved 1.7 miles down tracks to Falcon, existing water tanks at Granger and Bierstadt continued to serve thirsty locomotives. Falcon, Colorado, Crossroads on the Prairie, 1888 to 1935. This early 1880 view of Chicago, Kansas, and Nebraska Railroad Rock Island Survey Camp was photographed 1.7 miles south of Granger. Falcon was built on the site of a deserted sheep camp after CK&N crossed the Denver, Texas, and Fort Worth in 1888. Granger diminished to little more than a country schoolhouse, sheep pens, and water stop. So, on the pages before this, we see the vintage flat cars. We see a shares for the Denver, Texas, and Fort Worth. And then on page 35, the right-hand page, we see the Chicago, Kansas, and Nebraska Railway Co., which is future Rock Island. And fun fact, today you can actually still see the tracks in that area. And that's a rail trail, and I plan to ride it one day. Falcon's Rock Island Depot hosted passengers and freight customers, beginning with the first train into the Springs via Lyman and Goodlands, Kansas on October 16th, 1888. The rock stations were standard of the CK&N design with individual modifications. Falcon was a typical West End style featuring a Pikes Peak view. CK&N delivered a friendly east-west connection for the Gulf Road. And in those photos, we see the camp on the top of page 36, and on the bottom, we see Chicago, Kansas, and Nebraska Railway again, but also a photo of the Falcon Depot that was built by the Chicago, Kansas, and Nebraska Railway. Prosperous Prosperity, 1888 to 1893. John Evans' Denver to Pueblo route enjoyed an all-too-brief heyday. This uncharacteristic smooth ride was derailed forever, thanks to a nationwide panic devastating turn of the century joint line agreement. So if we don't know, this is what would lead to the joint line today in Colorado, which is owned now by BNSF and Union Pacific. Parker, 23 miles south of Denver, became an important locomotive terminal, where helper engines coaxed southbound 6.7 miles to Hilltop. An additional siding and modest new station were constructed in 1889. In December of the previous year, a wire was laid at Hilltop to turn helpers sent up from Parker. Though several recent consolidations brought more trains and greater need for extra power, its surprising train crews endured 7 years of running in reverse. Pueblo's central location between Texas Panhandle, Utah, Arizona, Wyoming pastures, corn belt feedlots, and markets was ideal rest stop for Let me restart that. Pueblo's central location between Texas Panhandle, Utah, Arizona, Wyoming pastures, corn belt feedlots, and markets was an ideal for rest stops. Signuman was an important shipper on the Gulf Road. This cattle king of the Panhandle and his men fed and shipped much of Pueblo's 135,000 livestock during 1891. Pueblo Union Stockyard was processing as much as 15,000 cattle, sheep, hogs, horses, and mules daily. Pueblo Union Depot was an imposing 3-story edifice, complete with a 150-foot tower that displayed faces in all directions. Born of an agreement dated August 13, 1889, this grand stone structure served passenger trains and of the Denver, Texas, and Fort Worth, Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe, Denver and Rio Grande, Chicago, Rock Island Pacific, and Missouri Pacific railroads. So on this page, at the top by the Parker segment, we see a picture of Parker's water house, or water tower, well house, and station. We see another, on the next photo down, a photo of that looks to be maybe Sig Newman and his gang of cattle ranchers, which is common out here now. We see the Pueblo stockyards, and then we also see the Pueblo Union Depot, which I'm not sure if that's still around today. I hope it is. I think it is, actually. Anyways, Denver, Texas, and Fort Worth joins Union Pacific as Union Pacific, Denver, and Gulf subsidiary. Financial panic of 1893 changes leadership. Because mergers were an everyday occurrence during this golden age of railroading, few were surprised when May 17, 1889, headlines reported the news of the Denver, Texas, and Fort Worth's reorganization as north-south trunk line called the Union Pacific, Denver, and Gulf. Under heavy pressure from General Granville Dodge and others, Evans reluctantly agreed to consolidate his former Denver&New Orleans into the new Union Pacific subsidiary on April 1st, 1890. Any sense of optimism was short-lived, as ingredients of a nationwide panic had been brewing for a decade. In his book, Gulf to the Rockies, Richard C. Overton explained, The country had overextended itself for more than a dozen years in an effort to develop the enormous material resources that promised, when harnessed, to make possible a standard of living never dreamed of in all of human history. The American prosperity for taking a chance simply went too far, and many of the nation's railroads were caught up in the maelstrom was inevitable. On July 17th, 1893, 3 Denver buildings closed their doors. Within a few days, 9 others followed. The debt-ridden Union Pacific was in receivership before year's end. A combination of panic and poor health signaled John Evans' departure from the Union Pacific, Denver, and Gulf Board of Directors in April 1894. Frank Trumbull was named receiver and a promising new era was in the making. Pueblo's elaborately decorated Union Pacific and Denver and Gulf ticket office presented this appearance during 1897. A struggling common carrier was preparing to become Colorado&Southern Railway. Tickets were within easy reach against the wall behind the agents. Gas lamps were provided illumination. Union Pacific, Denver, and Gulf offices in downtown Pueblo looked like this in the 1890s. Mr. A.S. Cuthbertson headed to Pueblo and the Pueblo Agency, and George Audie represented Denver. This street corner structure, known as the Triangle Building, also employed passenger agent Thomas Thompson. Union Pacific and Denver and Gulf's ticket office occupied this corner at 17th and Curtis in downtown Denver during 1897. Patrons could purchase tickets over the standard gauge line to Colorado Springs, Pueblo, and beyond, or take a trip over the Colorado narrow gauge routes in Colorado's Rocky Mountains. So on these two pages, page 38 and 39, we see a picture of the Union Pacific, Denver, and Gulf Railways logo. We see a small road map. And then we do see a photo of one ticket and the office in Pueblo. Then on page 39, we see we see the Denver ticket office in Denver. We also see the downtown Pueblo offices, as well as the offices, as well as the passenger offices. Union Pacific, Denver, and Gulf executives and the distinguished dignitaries rode the private cars such as number 99, Colorado. Its magnificent exterior was an example of Goldstriper's finest art, with the interior a spectacle of varnished wood, polished brass, plushed and wickered, and leather fit for a king. Denver&New Orleans number 4 ran between Denver and Pueblo for 17 years and bore the initials and numbers of 4 railroads. Her last renumbering came in 1898 when she became Colorado&Southern Railway number 106. So we see total 5 photos. 2 of them are on the Colorado. We see an exterior photo of the Colorado. You see an interior photo of the Colorado. We see a a pass the right on the Colorado or something like it. We'd see a timetable again. We see a poster advertisement for the golf road, and then we see a photo of number 4 as Union Pacific, Denver and Golf number 537. Which is crazy because if I'm going to be honest, she's the most photographed locomotive of any locomotive on the Denver&New Orleans. By most photographed, I mean the only one that has been photographed. I think having 3 photos total. Just a little tidbit there. Colorado&Southern Railway assumes traveled railroad. Colorado&Southern Railway, CNS, was chartered on December 20th, 1898, as successor to the Union Pacific at Denver and Gulf. The new company took possession at 12:01 a.m. on January 11th, 1899. John Evans didn't even live to see this version of his Gulf route, having died in his sleep on July 3rd, 1897, at the age of 83. 35-year-old Frank Trumbull returned Union Pacific, Denver, and Gulf's main offices to Denver in time for its reorganization as Colorado&Southern Railway during 1898. This energetic young president's leadership inspired a rationalization program that soon left much of the Denver&New Orleans in the dust. So we then get 4 pictures. We see a young Frank Trumbull. We see a Colorado&Southern Pass, which was nicknamed Colorado Road. And then we have another advertisement for the Colorado&Southern on page 43. On pages 44 and 45, we have more images showing the complete Colorado section and a bit of Wyoming and a bit of New Mexico, as well as the Texas and Oklahoma areas for the Colorado&Southern. This gives us a complete route plan, which shows both narrow gauge and standard gauge segments of the massive railroad. And then on page 45, we get a timetable and the different branches timetables, which are all specifically Denver&New Orleans X lines. And that is chapter 2. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I certainly did. Like, comment, and share. Subscribe even. I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.